Hello, everyone. The last time a version of Singapore's mathematics textbooks and workbooks was made widely available outside of Singapore was in the 1990s, which is known as the primary mathematics series many Singaporeans born in the 80s, including myself, used growing up. Recently, a new series also titled Primary Mathematics and published by Star Publishing has entered the US, which has the largest base of Singapore mathematics curriculum users. It is important to note that this is the Singapore International Edition, not the version currently used in Singapore. School leaders and homeschoolers may be wondering how this compares to the popular Dimensions Math series. So today, I'll be providing a side by side comparison. First, a quick introduction of myself and why should you consider my perspective. My name is Regine Howe. I am a Singapore trained mathematics teacher who graduated from Singapore's Sole Teacher Training Institute, also known as the National Institute of Education, which has consistently prepared educators contributing to the country's top global rankings in international benchmark assessments over more than 3 decades. My training in Singapore mathematics pedagogy took place over several years, and I was taught by lecturers and tutors who were directly involved in research, designing, and writing Singapore's national mathematics curriculum, grounded in rigorous research. I spent 10 years teaching in Singapore state schools and another 10 years teaching internationally. In one of the international schools that I worked with, I led the transition to a Singapore mathematics curriculum, raising student attainment above the national average within the first year of implementation. As both a product of the Singapore education system and an educator extensively trained in this pedagogy, I compare these materials using the same criteria applied in Singapore when selecting instructional resources. Disclaimer: I am not affiliated with any publisher, so this review reflects my independent and professional judgment. If you are deciding between two series, it's worth considering what matters most to you and what best supports your learners. Different versions of Singapore mathematics materials exist for a reason. They are designed to meet the needs of different contexts and users. So let's head over and have a look at the comparison between Dimensions Math and Primary Mathematics, Singapore International Edition. At surface level observation, by flipping through the books and looking at the flash, you will notice that Dimensions Math provides notes to help build content knowledge of the parent or teacher teaching Singapore math, whereas Primary Mathematics only provides instructions on how to teach the concepts. Dimensions Math offers pre-recorded videos of a person teaching the lessons. It has three options, one offered by Dimensions Math, Nicole the Math Lady, as well as Singapore Math Live, which I found out was the very first series of videos created to teach Dimensions Math. On the other hand, Primary Mathematics offers videos that teach parents and teachers how to teach, which aligns with the principles of authentic Singapore mathematics pedagogy. I understand that there are parents who do not feel confident conducting lessons and would rather pay for Teach for You lessons. I just want to emphasize that Singapore Math may be known for its CPA approach, but one of the reasons our students flourish is really through constructing knowledge together through effective teaching methods such as discussions and effective questioning techniques by a skilled teacher. In Primary Mathematics Teacher's Guides, questions are provided to get students thinking critically, a skill that the curriculum aims to develop. So I highly recommend lessons to be conducted live so the learner is able to interact and develop reasoning and critical thinking skills through discussions. Next, comparing the topics of money, Dimensions Math uses the US dollars while Primary Mathematics uses Singapore dollars. For units of measurement, Dimensions Math has a mixture of imperial and metric system, as you can see from the examples I've presented down here, while Primary Mathematics only uses the metric system. The last point on surface level comparison I want to talk about is the number of activities. Dimensions Math offers plenty of activities to help children practice what they learn as an alternative to solving questions with pen and paper. A number of them help develop conceptual understanding, which is knowing the why and not just how. Um, in primary mathematics, there are fewer games and activities, all right? But I would say there is actually enough hands-on activities and games to help students understand conceptually. So I have completed the surface level comparison. In the next section, drawing on my training as mathematics specialist in Singapore, trained specifically in mathematics and science rather than as a generalist, I will critically interrogate the underlying principles and structures of both texts. In the rest of this video, you will find out how Singapore's mathematics curriculum has evolved to ensure the future generations in Singapore are well prepared for the future. So let's look at the critical analysis that covers depth, theory, and intentional scrutiny. First, I will begin by examining the authors. As in Singapore, the expertise of textbook authors significantly shapes how materials are designed and, in turn, influences the development of students' thinking. In Singapore, all textbooks and workbooks used in the schools are written by true Singapore mathematics experts who also teach in the Seoul Teacher Training Institute, NIE, National Institute of Education. Its lecturers are not just academics, they are deeply involved in curriculum research, pedagogy, and how students actually learn mathematics in Singapore. This positions them well to design materials that reflect both theory and classroom reality. There are individuals outside Singapore who identify as Singapore math experts. However, such claims can inadvertently diminish the contributions of academics who have directly influenced the development of Singapore's education system. Dr. Eric Chan, the author of Primary Mathematics, started as a teacher in Singapore State School. In fact, he was a math teacher in my primary school. He later became a vice principal, furthered his studies, and has been teaching in NIE. I had the privilege of being taught by him in NIE, and I remember his lectures were on pedagogies bridging abstract mathematics with real world application, which you will find evident in primary mathematics. So, this is how the expertise of the authors of our books in Singapore shape teaching and learning. It is also worth noting that the consultant Dr. Barinder Kaur is a highly respected full math professor at the National Institute of Education who has contributed significantly to research and developments in Singapore's mathematics education. The authors of Dimensions Math are American authors. I do not know much about them other than the fact that most of them are American educators. Other than Pearlie Yuan, who had 20 years preschool teaching experience in Singapore, I am unable to find sources which claim that the rest of the authors were trained and taught in Singapore. It's also worth noting that formal learning of mathematics only begins at the primary or elementary level. That's why not many versions of Singapore math curriculum actually offers pre-kindergarten and kindergarten syllabus. Next, we look at the syllabus, which many call the scope and sequence between the two. Dimensions Math scope and sequence resembles that of Singapore Primary Mathematics Syllabus 2013, whereas Primary Mathematics uses the latest syllabus written in 2021. There have been topics being moved around to reflect a deliberate move toward coherence, depth, and cognitive readiness over coverage and acceleration. I will now compare conceptual progression and coherence. Dimensions Math breaks up their lessons into smaller topics, as we can see from this example here, where number bonds of individual numbers within 10 are examined, whereas number bonds within 10 still cover number bonds of individual numbers, but not as intensively as in Dimensions Math in primary mathematics. From these two examples on addition, You can also see that Dimensions Math breaks up the skills required into smaller lessons. It is not to say that the same skills are not taught in primary mathematics, it is just not broken into smaller sections and taught as individual lessons. I have noticed some inconsistencies in the way concepts are taught or ordered in Dimensions Math. Comparing numbers is always taught before ordering numbers in Singapore, but in Dimensions Math, ordering numbers come before comparing in grade 1, but in subsequent chapters and levels, it becomes comparing, then ordering. I have also noticed that in Dimensions Math lumped more than one concept and don't teach different concepts together. We don't teach different concepts together in Singapore. Here is an example of adjacent angles and vertically opposite angles being taught in the same lesson in Dimensions Math. This can cause higher cognitive load, which can interfere with encoding information into long term memory. As a result, students can forget quickly or struggle to apply knowledge in new contexts. I really like that primary mathematics starts every lesson with a recall section, uh, recalling of concepts learned previously so that it prepares them to be ready to build new knowledge on their prior knowledge. This is good pedagogical practice which reinforces learning of previous topics but is not observed in Dimensions Math. We now look at depth over breadth. In primary mathematics, it is evident that the development of critical thinking is an emphasis. Flipping through every few pages of primary mathematics textbook, you'll find very good questions to elicit higher order thinking. These questions help develop reasoning skills, which is emphasized in Singapore mathematics curriculum framework. Have a look at the questions, read the questions posted in both Dimensions Math and Primary Mathematics. Do you notice primary mathematics requires children to think deeply, while Dimensions Math only asks knowledge based questions that do not require higher order thinking? I was also really excited when I saw this Maths Talk section in primary mathematics workbooks. This section aims to build high order thinking, getting the learner to talk about their methods or strategies in finding answers. However, in this in these two particular examples I have here, it develops a very crucial skill called generalization through the observation of patterns, which I find lacking in Dimensions Math. Sure, Dimension Math does scaffold their questions in their think, learn, do sections, which help learners use patterns to understand what they need to learn. But it's not as intentional as in Primary Mathematics, Singapore International Edition. Both Dimensions Math and Primary Mathematics develop mastery of concepts. However, I find Dimensions Math having a number of lessons which are unnecessary, dragging out the whole syllabus. For example, rounding 5 digit numbers and rounding 6 digit numbers are really unnecessary once students learn how to round 2, 3, and 4 numbers as they would have noticed a pattern on rounding numbers. Dimensions Math has more topics than primary mathematics, thus is topic heavy. It does develop deep understanding but lacks development of reasoning skills like primary mathematics. Dimensions Math has more questions in the textbooks as practice, but I was disappointed to see only 2 questions in primary mathematics, multiplication of whole number and mixed number in grade 5 textbook. Differentiation is a requirement in modern day classroom. Differentiation means intentionally adjusting teaching so that all students can access the same core learning, but at an appropriate level of challenge and support. The extension section in primary mathematics is designed to deepen and extend students' mathematical thinking beyond the core learning objectives, particularly for those who have already achieved mastery. Extension tasks typically require multi step reasoning involve problem solving in unfamiliar contexts, encourage justification and explanation. They target skills beyond routine procedures, especially analysis and reasoning. Extension instructions are included in primary mathematics teacher's guide, but not dimensions math. Both dimensions math and primary mathematics have plenty of word problems. However, there are differences between how dimensions math and primary mathematics structure the questions. Primary mathematics repeats the same type of word problems from their Let's Learn in their Let's Practice section. Dimensions math does that, but it's rather inconsistent with the way their word problems are structured and scaffolded. For example, these two questions on equal portions in fractions may have similar way of starting the bar model, but the way to solve actually varies. This type of equal portion in fraction questions are not the run-of-the-mill kind of question and needs to be carefully scaffolded from very basic equal portion questions. This level of scaffolding is lacking in dimensions math. When looking at the last page of certain topics in primary mathematics workbooks, you will see that there is this section called performance task. This assesses students' mathematical learning through hands-on tasks. This alternative assessment is lacking in dimensions math. I'm down to my last comparison. One of the ways to motivate learners to learn math is to make learning the subject meaningful. In primary mathematics, a section called Mathematics Around Us is found at the end of each topic in the textbook. There is a good talking point for teacher and student to learn more about how their math is applicable. The more meaningful learning is, the better it stays with the learner. As you can see, there are many elements in Primary Mathematics Singapore International Edition to develop critical thinking. Word problems are not the only way we develop higher order thinking and reasoning. As Singaporeans, we strongly believe that education shapes the future. Now that you have seen the difference between the two sets of teaching materials, which one would you choose and why? I have started a Facebook group called Raising Thinkers with Singapore Mathematics, where people using Singapore Mathematics can come together to chat about the use. It is also a platform for me to share more with you. If you find my video useful, do subscribe and join my Facebook group to get more information in short reels. In my next video, I will be doing a review of another book written by a renowned Singapore mathematics author. Stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching this video. Take care. Bye.